So 2022, obviously, you know, we've been around a lot and we've watched the evolution of hip hop from our standpoint, how it's grown and how it's grown online and expansion. And we talk about evolution all the time. I actually saw a conversation about aspiring artists.
Right.
And the topic and the question that came up was, what would you tell an aspiring artist now, heading into this game, the way the game is currently established and how things move? Because it's completely different from, you know, when we were in our, 20s, right? It's the total opposite of that now. Even 30s, early 30s, late 20s, the 30s, like it's changed since then. So, Lone, I'll come to you first. What do you think? What are some of the things that you would share to an aspiring artist to, you know, help them get out the gate, if you will?
There's two things you need to master.
What's that?
And some people already know this because I talk about this. I even tweeted 𝗙𝗘𝗄 about it last night.
Yes.
Based upon something he was tweeting. You have to master two things if you want to be an artist these days. And by an artist, I mean somebody who wants to put out music, who wants to grow a following, who wants to make money off of that as well, wants to all the encompassing things. If you just want to play bass in your basement, play bass in your basement. You want to put out songs for your homies, put out songs for your homies. But if you want to grow into something to be bigger than where you are right now, you have to master one, your music. Obviously, right? You have to be really, really good at whatever you make. Whatever that is, which means you got to put in the work. You got to be original. You've got to find your sound. You got to be able to work all the things that we've always had to do from the inception of creativity or whatever. You have to be really good at whatever you are.
Let me push back and ask you this.
Can I finish, third?
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't want to lose my train of thought, but go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
And my only devil's advocate would be, is creativity and is originality as important now as it would have been 15, 20 years ago?
If you want to sustain and you want longevity, yes.
Okay.
Otherwise, you can put out something quick and then you can disappear. But if you want to actually be an artist and sustain yourself in the long term, you have to have something that can still grab on to people. If you just sound like everybody else, then yeah, you know, just like everything, yeah, you can have your moment. But what's gonna bring people to come back to you? Like,
I wish that I could have that moment for life.
Well,
he said, well,
you know, there we are.
Yeah. I can dig that. I respect that.
That's the first half. The other half, which is to me is the most important part, and I say the most important part is because most people don't do it and don't look at it in the sense of it being important for artistry, because most artists don't want to do it, is you have to master your content. So again, I've said this on the show before, no matter how good your music is, your content has to be just as good. Otherwise, it's going to fall on deaf ears because there's just too many people doing it. There's just too many people making music. You want to put out great music. I mean, look, I feel like I put out good music in the past and did a really poor job of putting the content together to get to people. And I know a lot of people who have done that. And sometimes we just don't put the effort into it. This isn't something new, but I feel like nowadays in 2022, it's super necessary to create something like it. And it's not just music; it's all creative platforms. If we didn't have places for you to hear us on all the different social media platforms, and we didn't spend so much time in making it look a specific way and having a full production, all this stuff, you guys would be like, oh, these are just four guys in a basement somewhere or something, right?
Right.
You know, it's like we have to put it just as much time into that as building the thing that we talk about and having the value. So that's what I would say. I know it's kind of a long thing, but I think if you're a new artist, yeah, number one, put your hours in. Number two, you've got to be able to have great content, because content allows you the ability to do everything else. It allows you to network. It allows you to, people are going to look at you and be like, oh, this person is serious. This person takes what they do. They're going to look at you in a specific type of way. So that's mine.
I can dig that. Jay Moore, what would your suggestions be to aspiring artists coming out in this era?
Well, I think Lone covered what it is artistically that you need to have on point. This is the thing.
Anything else?
Def Jam is not going to come and think that you're talented and then try to nurture your talent. All right.
Good point.
You all, if one of these companies decide that they want to do business with you, it's because you've already got something that they feel like they can monetize. And a lot of times you got to know your price. There are too many people who would rather be famous than rich. You know, they will take whatever they get just so they can get on TV and be in an award show and take a few pictures next to somebody. And then it's 2 years in and they're like, oh, maybe I should have read my contract.
Yeah.
You know, I just want
still happening.
Yeah, it's still happening. You know, there are people like if they go through their contracts, they'll be like, well, wait a minute. What is this for pressing and distribution that all my stuff is on streaming?
Right.
And like they come to find out they're still being charged for jewel cases and broken goods. And because this is how the record companies stay in business and keep the artists broke so they can keep them creating content. It's a nasty, nasty game. And you have to be on top of it or else you're going to get sucked in by the trappings of fame and wealth and not act. And you can be famous, but you won't actually be wealthy for all the work that you've put in and all the, because you don't get paid for, you know, being on TV. A lot of times you have to pay to be on TV. You don't get paid to go to these parties. You know, you don't, I think that, like I said, there are so many people who just want to be seen and, you know, they're not, you got to look at the paperwork. This is how, you know, the rich stay rich and the poor stay famous.
Yeah.
I would just say, you know, because there are some artists where you're like, oh man, how are they getting all this? Like, and come to find out, like everything that is some sort of show of wealth is actually a recoupable expense. So, you know, and I would say to all these artists, if you're already popping, stay independent as long as you can. And if you stay independent, the longer you stay independent, the more you can ask for when these labels want to. You should want them to partner with you, not sign with you.
That's one of the ones
or you sign with them. You partner
can dictate
with
it.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Jay Diff, talk to me, man. Is there anything else that was left on the table, or you pretty much agree across the board?
I agree with everything everybody said. You also need to pick the right side, whether you want to ride with Lil Durk or NBA YoungBoy. So you got to be able to pick the right side of that. And then you'll do just fine.
I like that.
But now for real, I would say I feel like we've had this conversation many times. And I'll just say the same thing I said last time we had it. You have to invest in yourself because nobody's going to invest in you if you're not investing in yourself. So I always allot a budget just for that. You know what I'm saying? To make sure that you are just not staying stagnant with where you're at and how you look as far as pushing out your sound and your image online, because that unfortunately that is important factor nowadays, how you play out online. So you have to invest in all of that before you think somebody else is going to invest in you.
Yep.
I can I think everybody's made good points. I think networking is I think that's a big one too, being able to make connections and value those and grow them, nurture relationships.
Definitely.
In the midst of all the stuff that we've talked about. Because the one thing I've learned the hard way is you never know who you might need later. You might bump elbows with somebody, meet somebody at a music festival 3 or 4 years ago. And it might turn into a person that ends up playing on a record that you might need, that you know, doing something that you can't do because you cultivated a relationship and built that. Yeah. Those things pay dividends later for your art, your music, the craft.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like being able to move around in those rooms and not being scared. Like there's no, you know, standing in the corner, being passive, being aggressive about meeting people, presenting yourself properly and just making connections, work in the room. Because you never know who's around and who you might need. And that, I think that's to me, that's one of the mistakes I made. I was a little too passive in certain situations where I should have been more vocal, where I should have been talking and asking questions and getting emails and getting connections. That stuff is going to come back. You know.
Well, also, you got to be able to take advice.
Yeah.
You know, from people who are in a position to give it to you. someone who's already made it to where you're trying to get, or someone who's just trying to, pull you to the side and say, hey man, this is the way to do things. Like I still get those people, in the clubs I work in who are like, hey, I got my CD, could you play my song?
That's where you messed up, right?
Man,
Okay,
ain't
first,
that
yeah,
it?
exactly.
Got your
First of
CD.
all, these new computers do not even have optical drives. Okay,
Yeah.
CD, DVD player, Blu-ray, it just isn't a thing. That's
Invest in yourself.
it's not so. Which and
Bingo.
what I do is I tell, and they'll be like, "Well, can you download it?" And I'm like, "No,
Nah, see, you
because
being
I'm
too
running.
aggressive.
I'm running. First of all, I'm running my Serato right now. If there's a, depending on your way your computer's set up, if I just hop on and I start downloading songs, that might make my Serato crash.
Yeah.
It's not all a given, but it's a possibility.
I'm not going to mega upload.
Yeah, so I'm not.
These are situations where payola exists. So if
Yeah.
you
Well
run me
played.
$100,
Yeah.
I might figure out how to download your song and play
Right.
10 seconds of
This
it.
is the thing, and this is the
You might.
advice
Might.
I've given to so many, cats that want to come up to me in the club. First of all, don't come to me at 1 o'clock when the place is packed
Oh,
already.
man.
Don't come to a DJ or anybody who actually has the influence or the wherewithal to get your record played. What you need to do, you get to the club when the club opens, shake hands with the DJ, buy a drink.
I just talked about
do
that.
do actual networking. You come up to me at 1 o'clock in the morning. We got a packed dance floor, and we're running the hits at from 1 till 3. We're running the hits.
Putting on the hits.
Yeah, we're not
on the hits.
We're not even by artists who are known. We're not breaking records at that point.
But can I make a point to that though?
Yeah.
What's up?
It doesn't even matter if the DJ plays your song in a club.
It doesn't.
No, it
Because
doesn't.
nobody's paying
It doesn't
attention.
Nobody
matter.
cares.
It doesn't
Nobody
matter.
cares.
And plus, maybe
But I'm going to take that $100
yeah,
if you
and maybe if you want to see the reaction, but like it's not going to mean anything in the long run.
No, if you want to know what it sounds like in big speakers,
Yeah.
okay, we'll get there early.
But
I was about to, but I was
even
about to
with
say that though.
If you're going to give a DJ your music, say, hey man, could you check this out? My name is so and so. I told this cat. I've given this advice to so many artists. Maybe 2 people have taken me up on it. I said, look, you go on Amazon, you get yourself some flash drives. You make an electronic press kit. Put your picture in there, links to your social media, song with the instrumental, and then you give those to DJs.
Oh man, that's too much work. Nobody want to do that.
I'll
That's
give
too
you
much
one
work.
even better. Flash drives are getting to the point to where people don't even want flash drives anymore. Go get you one of those electronic business cards
Mm.
With a
that,
QR code.
that
on
has
it.
a QR
QR
code
code.
on it, has a direct link where you can even just touch your phone and all the contacts will pop
NFC.
up. But on top of all of that, you can put links in there too, direct links to all of your music places
Yes,
that
indeed.
people can just download it, go to Spotify and all that stuff, buy a bunch of those, hand them out to people.
Then you got to worry
could dig
about
that.
somebody.
But once
putting
again, that you're
a
asking
bug
people to
in
do
your computer.
work to benefit
They ain't
themselves.
gonna want to do that.
Well,
And-
that's part of the investing in
But
yourself.
it's investing in yourself, and it's you have to do it.
Just so if you but imagine telling that to somebody who's still trying to give out CDs.
I'll be honest, and then we can wrap it up here. But I'll be honest. I like to crowdsource. I like to see people's reactions to records. I'm talking about in the cut, just watching. I like to watch and see if anybody's reacting to a record that I have. So whenever I give stuff to the homies, and if I'm in the building and they run it, I'm looking around the room to see what the reactions are. And I don't know how valuable that is. Maybe that's just me overthinking it, but I like to see people's responses to records, to see, what could, outside of how it sounds and all that. I like to see how they react when it comes on.
For sure.
If it hits.
I'm talking with new songs too, is how it's presented. So you have to damn near sandwich it in between
What's already hot.
something that kind of balances in that same kind of area that your track is. So
Yep.
like when I sneak it in the applesauce, that's usually what I do. I'll play something first that people are kind of familiar with, then I'll sneak that one in because it's kind of similar,
Yep.
and then followed up with another one. So
Yeah, I got to give you a piece on that too. You do a good job with that. Whenever I, send you something to run, you definitely bring that thing in the right way so it can be, appreciated. I guess.
I have another question based on this, and I'm curious what people, and I see some people in the chat too who definitely network and are part of this as well. I'm curious what everybody thinks. How important or how much work would you, or how much emphasis would you think? Let me word this correctly. When I first started in music and I moved to Indianapolis, I didn't know anybody,
Mhm.
and I did what I told many artists to do is like I went to everything. I talked to everybody. That's how I ended up meeting Terry. That's how I met Jay Moore. That's how I met a lot of people. You know, I was there. Even though like I'm an introvert, I don't like those situations. I put myself in those situations. I feel like the landscapes has changed a lot. How much do you guys really think it's super important for that type of thing to be in person these days? Like, is there still a lot of value, especially post COVID and all this stuff? Like, maybe it's just me, but I have a hard time putting a lot of value in that, and it could just be my own not want to do it.
We're not. This isn't 10 years ago, so we don't have that same energy.
Yeah, well, that's
that we
definitely part of
did.
it.
You know
That's
what I'm saying? At one point in time. So,
but is it as valuable?
It's still. I mean, maybe not to us because we've pretty much already done those steps.
Right.
So we don't necessarily have to do those steps again. Now, for people coming up, they're still kind of following that same blueprint, so to speak. I think.
Well, I think if it's let's go your route and say it's not valuable. We'll just say.
And the reason why I say this isn't because of like me being more established. Or whatever. It's more about like just the demographics and how everything is digital now.
No, I know where you're going. I mean? What I'm saying is if that's the route that if that's the angle that you want to play and say it may not be as valuable, then you have to compensate on the other side online, whether that's more emails, that's more follows, that's more DMs, that's more
communities. Yeah,
communities, the Discord. Y'all join the Discord, by the way. To compensate for that,
right?
You got to be able to get it somehow.
The
you know what I mean?
Thing that I come across is like I don't. Again, this might just be a personal thing, but I don't see in-person networking as valuable as I once saw it. But I also don't see an equivalent digitally.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I feel like so it's just I don't know. I was just curious what you guys thought.
I'm not mad at that. I just think you got to compensate for one or the other. Figure out a way to compensate for it. That's all. Because it's still important. You know, just it might look different, like Terry said, than it did. You know, when we had the energy to move around like that.
Yeah, even the cats now that are producers that are getting these songs off to these artists, and rappers and whatnot, and they're making hits on the songs.
Yep.
At some point in time, they have to meet up.
Eventually, you have to meet up, right? But I feel like a lot of that's done virtually now. You know, a lot of it's like, you know,
I actually don't
messaging people and doing like me personally, like if you come in my DMs and I don't know you, I don't even respond.
Yeah.
But you know, there's a balance to some people do. You know what I mean? And there is a delicate way to approach people online and stuff like that, and you know, follow them, engage with them, and stuff. And then like
to your point on the DM thing, there's certain people, even when T-Pain was talking about don't hit him up, saying
I remember
certain
that.
things,
yeah.
Because since you're so easily accessible online, I think it makes more sense to try to be present in those situations,
or be present where that person's present.
Right.
You know, like he has the best way to get in contact with me is literally like if I see you in here or if I see you in one of the places where I make myself available to the public.
Right.
Yeah.
Like there was a long time where I was a blogger, and so people were trying to send me music.
Yeah.
But I was also a musician. And so like when you send me music to my personal page, like I don't want to go use the submission form.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's
like,
overwhelming. That's overwhelming.
It's like all people's, you know, like, so you got to realize, I think, obviously I got sidetracked because the people are people, but I don't know. I feel like there's a, I think, I don't know.
I think the DMs is in the approach because
in person's definitely king slot. I think so. It's just, I just don't feel like it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just weirdly biased.
I like in person.
I'm ready to step into the meta.
maybe the meta's where it's at.
I'm with Slide on the in person. But as it relates to the DMs, I think it's in the approach and the way that you slide it to the quote unquote slide it to the DM, because I got a DM from somebody that was so professional in their request. I was like, oh.
Yeah,
I had to take you serious. You can't. We talking about.
It depends on the approach and
the record. We talking about
and all that stuff. Yeah,
I heard the golden word budget. Mm-hmm. So you know these are things where I'm like, oh, let me sit up and you know what I mean. Yeah. But there's other times, to your point,
so it's hard. I think it's harder to recreate that though.
Yeah.
If you're not in person. Shouts to the comments. I agree with what you guys are saying, because I do feel like in person is definitely easier because you can talk to the person. You can and all that stuff. So
I'm big on energy, man.
Maybe I just don't like.
You just don't like people, yeah.
That's
just don't like people. Yeah, you just don't like people. It's cool.
Introverted extrovert.
Maybe I need to pull up my britches a little bit, huh?
Perhaps.
Yeah, it's up to you.
I'll wait
All
till
right.
the pandemic's over, though,
Yeah.
because it's not over.
No, it's not over. Not
Some
not
people
violent.
think it's over, but
It's never over.
walk in the grocery store, you don't see nobody wearing masks.
Depending on what side of town.
You'll see
you
me
are.
I got mine on. All right, man. Let's
rubbing my face in the bananas. Like,
Licking the tomatoes.
Hey, if they got some left, because everybody a little
That's
short with them containers. Be
that's
clear.
true.